Welcome to today's TAFE Talks. I'm Teresa Schmidt, the Director of Policy and Governance at TAFE Directors Australia. Today's topic is Clean Energy Futures powered by TAFE. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of all the different lands upon which we meet today. I'm coming to you today from Callawenda, Caloundra on Gubbi Gubbi country, and I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us in the discussion today. If you would like to introduce yourself and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands that you are on, please feel free to do so in the chat. And so I'll say Wanya Nullam, welcome to you all. In today's session, we will explore how TAFEs are partnering with industry, jobs and skills councils, or JSCs, and other TAFEs to lead innovation in clean energy initiatives relating to automotive and batteries. So let me begin by introducing our speakers for today. Firstly, we have Shane Randall from CIT's Electric Vehicle TAFE Centre of Excellence. With over 25 years of experience in the automotive industry, Shane Randall has built a distinguished career working with manufacturers, aftermarket companies and major corporations. A qualified technician and a registered roadworthy inspector in both ACT and New South Wales, Shane's expertise spans various aspects of the industry from technical work to regulatory compliance. His extensive network, both in Australia and abroad, has led to the development of valuable partnerships, particularly in New Zealand within BMW. In 2025, Shane was honoured with the prestigious BMW MVP Award for his exceptional contributions to the BMW electric vehicle training program. His dedication to advancing the automotive sector, particularly in electric vehicle technology, continues to drive his work today. Now, Shane is training today also, so we're hoping that his IT will hang in there. But before we get started with Shane's presentation, let me introduce you to Greg Mitchell from Bendigo Kangan TAFE. Greg has over 25 years of experience in the tertiary education sector, having previously held appointments with Central Queensland University, TAFE Queensland, and is currently the head of Clean Economy Initiatives with BKI, Bendigo Kangan Institute in Melbourne. He's a keen supporter of the transition to net zero and works across a wide number of sectors to ensure students have access to emerging technologies in their vocational programs. Greg is the TAFE Directors Australia Clean Energy Network Chair and is a strong advocate for collaboration across the sector. Next, we have Carolyn Winter, who's a Training Product Development Team Lead for the Mining and Automotive Skills Alliance, AUSMASA, Jobs and Skills Council, or JSC. Carolyn has 20 years of experience in education and training where she has worked in different areas, including vet in schools, RTOs and industry. Caroline has experience in managing the delivery of training programs, learning management systems, software solutions, developing assessment tools, national training products, resources and compliance. Welcome, Caroline. We also have Ross Thompson, our industry representative today, from the General Manager of After Sales at Foton Mobility. Ross is an experienced heavy vehicle after sales manager with a demonstrated history of working in the auto industry. Ross has been focused on after sales for more than 25 years with various major truck and bus original equipment manufacturers and brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the Foton Mobility KRW Hydron Group as he leads their customer service team to ensure customers receive the best care after purchase. Ross has been engaged as the SME on many zero-emission vehicle training products throughout various TAFEs and universities, and with the backing of their OEMs provides knowledge and technical insights to industry groups, including to us today. And finally, last but not least, we will hear from Sean O'Sullivan from TAFE Queensland Centre of Excellence, Clean Energy Batteries. Sean has had a wealth of experience in emerging industries, education and training, shaped from a diverse career as a bush mechanic turned educator to his current position as Executive Director, TAFE Centre of Excellence, Clean Energy Batteries at TAFE Queensland. The centre is a $20 million joint initiative by the Queensland and Australian governments. It's thriving under Sean's leadership and focuses on equipping the nation's workforce to meet the current and emerging needs of the clean energy batteries sector. Sean is committed to ensuring quality training is accessible to everyone, especially those from underprivileged backgrounds. He has a degree in vocational education and training and extensive experience in curriculum design and industry engagement. Sean has been instrumental in developing innovative training opportunities that respond to community and industry needs. Now, I'm going to hand over to Shane shortly to kick us off. But before we do, I want to let you know that today's session is being recorded and the recording will be made available to everyone who registered for this TAFE Talk session and on the TDA website. Closed captioning is also available for this event. And if you have any questions that you would like to pose to our speakers today, please use the Q&A box throughout the session. We will come back to those at the end. You might be inclined to put things in the chat, but please use that chat to have discussions with each other throughout. However, keep your questions into that Q&A box for that function so that we don't miss them in all the discussion that will take place today. It now gives me great pleasure to hand over to Shane from CIT's Electric Vehicle TAFE Centre of Excellence to kick off today's discussion. Thank you, Shane.
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you everyone for letting me be a part of this great event. My name is Shane Randall, and I am the Senior Partnership Manager for the Electric Vehicle TAFE Centre of Excellence. Today, I'll talk to you a little bit about what CIT is up to, where we're doing with the electric vehicles. So for those who aren't aware, we are based in Canberra, the Institute of Technology. We're proud to be the home of the nation's first ever electric vehicle TAFE Centre of Excellence. We are the forefront of Australia's transition to sustainable road transport, equipping the workforce of today with the skills needed for tomorrow. Established under the National Skills Agreement, we are passionate about sharing knowledge and delivering world-class training that scales Australia's EV capability. Right now, there are over 300,000 electric vehicles on Australia's roads, and they're growing every day. But the industry is facing a critical skills gap. A shortage of trained and certified EV technicians is holding progress back. So CIT's EV TAFE Centre of Excellence is leading the charge to skill this gap. While we're based in Canberra, our impact is national. Today, I'm coming to you from Dubbo. We are setting the benchmark for EV training, supporting TAFEs across the country, contributing to net zero targets, and championing innovation through the latest technology and teaching methods. So on our next page, on our slide, we have just some of our objectives, which is our national focus, our workforce development, key partnerships, and innovation that I've just touched base on. So some of the feedback on the next slide that we've received from industry and from talking with people in this group alike. So CIT has engaged in the consulting to undertake a workforce skills and mapping project for the EV industry. So Ricardo is helping us understand what is required from industry so we can skills map that project and deliver that. This project will include both desktop research and conversations with industry stakeholders, peak bodies, government, to ascertain known emergency skills required. So also the EV technology, including vehicle to grid and vehicle to home, industry awareness and best practices. There's a lot of conversation where that starts and where that finishes, and that's something we're working with at the moment with industry to bring that along, where that starts and where that finishes. The EV TAFE Centre of Excellence is seeking to understand the future training requirements in response to introduction of zero emission vehicles, including for industries that interact with these vehicles. So we're looking at also the bigger scope. So we're doing heavy vehicles, light vehicles. We're also going into that industrial equipment as well. This may include electricians, tow truck drivers, first responders, engineers, clear repair technicians, and auto electricians. So some of these pilot groups on upskilling from those identified skills gaps, this is where we're going to focus on, and this is what we're looking at. The EV Centre of Excellence will focus on a range of electric vehicle types and associated training, including battery electric vehicles, so BEVs, hybrid electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles. ZEVs may include heavy vehicles, light vehicles, plant and machinery, as well as e-bikes, forklift, and motorbikes. We are getting a lot of feedback, but there is some shortages in those areas. So now we're starting the skills map to find out what they will look like. Also, the cyber security awareness training for charging infrastructure and driver assist. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thank you. The EV Roadshow skill set training in rural and remote areas. As I said before, I'm coming to you live here from Dubbo today. We're carrying out some training in the local area. So training delivery will be mobile with flexible online learning prior to practical work on site where possible. Training will be directed at workers in areas with local access to EV training or facilities, initially involving delivery of the statement of attainment in depower and reinitialised battery electric vehicles. The EFC will start this roadshow project in Dubbo today, which is great, with interest already noted from New South Wales dealerships, both in light vehicle and heavy vehicle EVs, which it's great. So industry roundtables to identify the skills gaps with the OEMs, TAFEs and industries combined. In mid-2025, the EVTOC is preparing to host an interactive electric vehicle research roundtable event. This gathering will unite prominent researchers in the EV industry and technical specialists for a comprehensive discussion on the challenges inherited in the ZEV industry. So we're going to be looking for some key stakeholders to have the opportunity to exchange valuable insights and expertise. And this is also going to align with us with our technical training, with our OEM, our partnerships, with that delivery and resources. So that co-delivery works very well, where we can get them to buy in and come in and help deliver some of what's latest within their brands. It's an COE will deliver annual EV research open days to initiate open and collaborative relationships between industry employers, students, apprentices, and universities. So we are looking at that higher applied research and that apprenticeship, what that looks like. So we're partnering with some universities at the moment, having some fantastic conversations to help build and look at what that looks like. It's future-proofing the training by anticipating changes in technology standards and policy. One big thing that we've been getting a lot of traction on lately is working with our secondary schools. So being close to the careers advisors, having that conversation with even parents, students within the year 10, 11 and 12 market, trying to promote the work experience within the industry and get the students out in the field of work so they can understand what is happening and how that drives, because that's where the future is for our industry. That's where the future is for TAFE. The automotive sector is coming out of those schools. So it's very important that we link in with them. But that's about all today. If you flip to the last one for me, please, the last slide. I have put a QR code in there. That is my details. Scan that. If you want to reach out and ask some more questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. And I thank you for your time today, and I'll hand you back to Teresa.
Thanks, Shane. Great work. Internet held out, and yes, we could hear a bit of training going on in the background, but that's where you are at the moment. So I'm sure you've got plenty of questions for Shane, and as you've seen, Shane's given you that QR code, but also you can put your questions in the Q&A. So hold them over to the end if you can. We are now going to hear from Greg, Caroline and Ross, who will discuss the outcomes of their collaborative partnership combining the expertise of TAFE, JSC and industry. So I'll pass on to Greg. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa. Good afternoon, everybody. To start with, this is a Victorian Government Skill Solution Partnership Program, and it's about building a workforce to service hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. You could just go to the presentation slide. This project has been in development since February 2024. Originally, the Skill Solution industry partner was Hyzon Motors Australia. However, as some of us would be aware, unfortunately, they went into liquidation in July 2024. And as a result of Hyzon's withdrawal from Australia, this left a number of projects without access to hydrogen-powered trucks. Fortunately, Foton Mobility Distribution were keen to replace Hyzon as our industry partner, and the Victorian Government approved the amended agreement in late 2024. We'll just move on to the next slide, please. Bendigo Kangan Institute's Automotive Centre of Excellence, otherwise known as ACE, with its world-class training facilities, is located in Melbourne City. ACE offers over 25 automotive qualifications to more than 5,000 students annually and has international partnerships in India, China, and more recently, Cambodia. I'll now hand over to Ross to outline Foton Mobility Distribution operations and educational partnerships.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everybody. So Foton Mobility Distribution, we are the largest distributor of zero-emission trucks and buses in Australia. We partner with many institutions. Obviously, as Greg said, we partner with Kangan TAFE. We also partner with TAFE Queensland, TAFE New South Wales, Federation Uni, Deakin Uni. We work with AFAC on first responder training. And the most important thing to Foton Mobility Distribution, and the reason we do partner with these institutions, is the safety of this new technology. So it's extremely important that people understand this is new technology. There are differences in it from the old technology, from a diesel engine, and we need to very quickly start to get people trained up in the new technology. We have an issue where the Australian government has stated by 2050 we will become carbon neutral. That's 25 years' time. There is currently 90,000 registered buses on Australian roads and 110,000 registered prime movers on Australian roads. So within the next 25 years, they're saying that we need to replace, just in heavy vehicles alone, 200,000 heavy vehicles. That is 10,000 heavy vehicles a year. That means that very shortly, people are going to need to know how to service and repair those vehicles. The only way we can do that, and the only way we can do that safely, is by partnering with institutions such as BKI to promote and move forward with the training from registered training organisations. We partner with those organisations, with teams like AUSMASA, and we push forward our knowledge and assist the industry to develop these courses in a way that we know will have backing from the industry. That's the reason we're so invested in this. We sell both hydrogen fuel cell vehicles and battery electric vehicles, and we partner with the institutes on both of those technologies to assist them and give them all of the backup and the help we can from an OEM and from the factory, and bringing this cutting edge technology to Australia where we are working on these vehicles. That's really about it with Foton Mobility, and I'd like to hand over to Caroline from AUSMASA.
Oops, one slide before. I think that's still with me. Could we just go to the next slide, please? All right, thank you. The Skills Solution Partnership Fuel Cell Electric Vehicle Project aims to upskill automotive technicians with the knowledge to safely inspect and service fuel cell electric vehicles. BKI will provide 2 pilot programs. Firstly, upskilling TAFE teachers from across Australia, and then automotive technicians who have an immediate need to inspect and service fuel cell electric vehicles. The pilot program will have some prerequisites, and as you've heard Ross talk about, they sell both electric vehicle solutions as well as hydrogen or fuel cell electric vehicles. So we believe the 64 battery skill set is critical for technicians to have done before they do the hydrogen units. And as well as that, we've also partnered with a company called Draeger, who are a leading international company who sell and provide advice on hydrogen safety systems and workshops and gas plants. So we've also, in partnership with them, created an online course titled Preparing an Automotive Workshop to Safely Work on Fuel Cell Electric Vehicles. Another prerequisite, and you would have heard Ross talk about AFAC before, and Foton also assisted in the development of this program. AFAC is the Australasian Fire and Emergency Services, and they have an excellent 1-hour online course which discusses working with hydrogen safety, hydrogen safety awareness training. So it's only an hour. Anybody can do that. And if you Google their websites, AFAC, you should be able to find a link very quickly to get on and do that course. It's very worthwhile. Now, the pilots will give us the opportunity to trial the draft AUSMASA fuel cell electric units. And I'll now pass over to Caroline to provide an overview on the AUSMASA's fuel cell electric vehicle project.
Thanks, Greg. I'm going to spend the next few minutes talking about AUSMASA's training product development project for the hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles. So the Mining and Automotive Skills Alliance, AUSMASA, we are the Jobs and Skills Council for the AUR, AUM and RII mining training packages. And as part of our remit, we develop training products in response to feedback from industry, training providers, unions and other stakeholders. And that ensures that the training products that we develop are fit for purpose now and into the future. And Australia's hydrogen industry and the emerging technologies for the automotive sector is one example of this. And so in response to this emerging need, in 2024, AUSMASA submitted a proposal to develop new training products. And so in this step process that we all follow, there's a number of stages that all JSCs will follow in the training product development process. And we've heard from Ross that the technology is in use and there's a need for training, and also from Greg that Kangan Institute has these two exciting pilots here. So AUSMASA's training product development project, in its initial development phase, that phase is now complete, and that involves us setting up a technical advisory group. There's 12 people on the technical advisory group for the hydrogen fuel cell training product development project, and Ross and Greg are part of that. So that's made up from subject matter experts, training providers, unions, and state and territory representation. And the expertise that everybody brings to the role ensures that we can bring these training products to fruition. So the stage 2 at the moment in the fuel cell product development is the public and government consultation phase. So what's happening here is we have the training products that have been developed out for public and government consultation, and very timely, they are still open today up until the 6th of June. So in consultation with the TAG, the Technical Advisory Group, what's been developed is 2 new units of competency: work safely with hydrogen in the automotive industry, and inspect and service hydrogen fuel cell components, and also a skill set with those contained within it. And we're welcoming feedback from all stakeholders. The AUSMASA website has more information on there, and you can also subscribe to keep updated with the project. Because what we want to achieve with this great opportunity that we have with the projects running concurrently is to make sure that we have practical, implementable training products that are going to be used in classrooms and training centres. So please, we encourage you to, if you can, and you would like to provide feedback, it is open until the 6th of June on the AUSMASA website. Thank you.
We could just move to the next slide, which I think is a question slide. So take it, we'll take questions at the end of the session. So I'll hand back over to you, Teresa.
Thank you, Greg, Ross and Caroline. That was an interesting presentation, and particularly I think we'll want to delve a little deeper into the partnerships. There's a lot of partnerships involved in the work that you've done, and I think that would be really helpful to unpack a little at the end. So yes, we will hold those questions over to the end, even though they're probably, you know, burning for us. They're quite important, and I have also put the AUSMASA link in the chat in case anybody wants to provide feedback in those last couple of days. So finally, we are going to hand over to Sean O'Sullivan from the TAFE Queensland Centre of Excellence for Clean Energy Batteries. And Sean's going to talk to us about the progress and the projects that is coming out of that TAFE Centre of Excellence now. So where are we at with the TAFE Centre of Excellence, Sean?
Thanks, Teresa. So thank you for the opportunity to present today. I think partnerships for all of our organisations are really important to be able to achieve the outcomes we need. And so this is going to be a bit of an overview on the partnerships we've established so far since the Centre of Excellence has been established. Just the next slide, please. So the Centre of Excellence is a joint $20 million investment from the Australian and Queensland government and will operate until December 2028. As part of the national network of centres, we'll be providing national leadership to support reduction of duplication of work and increase the consistency of national framework for the skills, education and training across the country. For the TAFE Centre of Excellence, we are everywhere. Instead of being a standalone facility, our centre represents a connected national network of TAFE partners working together under the National Skills Agreement. For this reason, our key focus areas are partnerships with industry, as well as that with TAFE providers and universities. This will allow us to act as a united network to develop products, establish higher level pathways in multiple different discipline areas, and design new and innovative training products for the emerging skills needs of whatever sector we're working in, and especially in that clean energy transition for us. So the Centre of Excellence for us will be supporting the targeted training in renewable energy storage. We'll have grid connectivity, network embedded storage at large and small scales. We'll link into electric vehicles, so we'll have to do some collaboration with the Centre of Excellence in Canberra. And we've already had a lot of work completed with Ross, as he said earlier, in the EV and the hydrogen space, but which we want to build on into the future. We'll also look at developing training for the emerging skills needed in the design and installation, operation and maintenance of renewable energy systems, including batteries, and that'll include both on and off grid applications. Community safety and awareness is a major piece for us as well, as also with battery manufacturing and the remanufacturing, disposal and recycling of batteries in Australia, because it'll be a new industry. So when we look at these things, we're not looking at critical skill shortage, we're looking at an emerging skill shortage, because we actually still aren't 100% certain where we actually need to build those skills. Currently working on the development of a number of different higher level pathway options. So we've been going out in consultation for that. And we've got two focus areas: battery installation and commissioning and maintenance, and then also in the battery manufacturing piece. So what we're looking at is that will work across two different, obviously the electrical stream and the manufacturing, and we're working with the JSCs, Manufacturing Industry Skills Alliance and Powering Skills Organisation. And that could lead into opportunities for us to be able to develop vocational degree pathways or advanced apprenticeship models in different formats. The largest focus for us, while we're looking at the actual training around batteries and clean energy, we're also looking at greater access and equity of training across and workforce participation for First Nations people, culturally and linguistically diverse, and people with a disability. We need to increase that workforce capability. So all of this will be underpinned by our soon to be announced and released applied research grants, which when they come out, they'll obviously be released publicly. And for the Battery Centre of Excellence, our grant round one will have $1 million attached to it. So we'll have research grants from $50,000 to $200,000. And the one thing for us is TAFE is a part of that application process and the eligibility. So what it does is allow TAFE to partner with an industry provider or a university to actually develop and build research capability and try and solve a problem that we're facing in industry. Next slide, please. So TAFE Queensland's been really successful in the new industry space with establishing partnership through different models. And that has successfully implemented a number of different programs that include EV micro-credentials, which is available in our course gateway, the EV skill sets and the EV apprenticeship, which was announced in Queensland as well. We've also linked in working with Ross in that space for the hydrogen micro-credential for hydrogen production, automotive and transport and logistics, and then linking that also into the accredited UEG qualifications and skill sets. And that's not only just supported TAFE Queensland in the Queensland industry, but we've actually gone and done delivery in Western Australia. So that supports now that network across Australia to build and develop the capability in those new sectors. We understand what our challenges were, so we can put those challenges to rest and we can actually get the lessons learned to be able to support new TAFEs take on new training models. So our centre is building on that partnership model, establishing several interconnected groups within the centre to include our steering committee, subcommittees and working groups. So we can collaborate with a range of stakeholders, including our JSCs, industry bodies and associations. And they're really there to identify and prioritise the projects that align with the centre's objectives. Our mission is to provide training that aligns with industry needs and manufacturers' skills, and also the alignment with TAFE and universities for that lifelong learning pathway application for students, and working with industry for industry and building strategic partnerships to ensure our programs remain current and effective. Next slide, please. So our training pipeline also seeks to reskill existing workers both internally and externally, because we've got to look at the capability within TAFE and the university sector. And it really focuses around that new technology space and to support the core growth of potentially new apprenticeship programs moving forward. So TAFE Queensland understands that, you know, the future training needs are established because of those invaluable partnerships and the professional development opportunities that the teachers will gain from those partnerships. So our goal is to deliver the current and future training needs of industry and building those apprenticeship pathways and traineeship models to be able to support that training pipeline, both accredited and non-accredited. We all know that we build great training products, but what our big deficit is we're not experts in every area. So that industry engagement piece is really important for us. And the strategic partnerships that supports TAFEs is also a really big benefit for us. And those benefits are mutually beneficial because industry gets support as they get the products developed and designed and build around what their framework needs to be to support their changing needs of industry. Next slide. So two of our current partners, so this is just an example, since November, these have been established. So we've got two there, one is Illumina and one is Jukian. So Illumina is an Australian company pioneering cutting edge technology for EV charging. They offer a minimal of 10 kilowatt input to charge in 20 minutes. Their energy storage systems are redefining energy interactions and preparing businesses for the new generation of energy infrastructure and allowing them to have a stable energy and power supply. The difference between Illumina and some of the other EV charging networks is they don't rely on major grid upgrades because they have the batteries integrated into the chargers. So it allows that integration and expand the EV network in regional remote areas. But that brings up sort of another different training scenario because we've got electricians now working with chargers and then batteries. So we've got to build that training around that. And being that you're now putting batteries and chargers in regional remote areas, we've got to build that safety and awareness piece for rural fire services, state and emergency services, similar to what Shane was talking about in that safety and fire service piece. The other partnership that we've got at the moment is Jukian. So Jukian is a Noongar word for sister. They're an Indigenous owned and operated equipment sales and rental business with a focus on sustainability. They focus on delivering the cleanest and cheapest energy in off-grid applications using a variety of different innovation technologies. And Jukian's passionate about advocating for increasing the participation of women and Indigenous team members in off-grid applications. So Kirby and Leah in that photo, Kirby's the one on the left. So Kirby's had 15 years experience in mining and construction, and Leah has 10 years experience in environmental science. These women are both very inspirational. One of the first round of women that went through the women in the WAFL program. So both of them played for Brisbane Lions and the Suns, and their commitment to what they did in the AFL, you can see coming through into that clean energy piece. So what they're looking at is working in regional remote areas and using football as an initiator to bring females and First Nations people into the clean energy career pathway. And their passion about this is really contagious. So they're a really, really valuable partner along with Illumina. Next slide. And this is a really interesting one. So this is not completed and we're in discussions at the moment, but we've had a fairly deep and long conversation with a company called Arctech Solar and Batteries. This one's going to be really big if we can get it to work out. So TAFE Queensland and the Centre of Excellence will jointly design and develop training products for solar and battery farming in Australia. And it'll be technology that's going to be designed and developed in Australia as well, but linking back to China for their product. The project will support the national network by development of industry short courses and micro-credentials. And then it'll meet the demands of the industry need that we have in that solar and energy storage sector, and it'll be delivered within a TAFE Queensland campus site. So apprentices, trade students, educators and non-educated staff will have hands-on experience and peripheral experience in this training environment, and the professional development will also come along with that, because we'll have access to that cutting-edge technology from one of the world's largest providers. This facility is proposed at a TAFE Queensland site currently, and it'll act as a live demonstration plan to support safe training. It'll be an environmental review process for TAFE Queensland. It'll allow access for electrical engineering and construction students, and also link into potentially new clean energy apprenticeships and post-trade students in the future. The assets and infrastructure is the big piece for this, and this will be fully donated to TAFE Queensland as part of the establishment of this program. So there's a significant investment from this company to be able to support training in Australia, but what we're doing for them is we'll build the products that will then support them to roll their projects out and build their capability in their local workforce. The benefit further, we have looked into the integration of the solar and BESS technologies, and we've not just looked at solar and batteries, but how that links into the soft skills and other trade areas across all the training that we do. And what we're seeing is the connections extend from the solar and battery industry out into robotics, fire safety, health and safety, ICT and cybersecurity, as you can see from some of the other centres. Partnerships are invaluable. And we all know that working together as a TAFE, industry and university partnerships will benefit the entire network. And I think that's something we really need to be focusing on in the future to make sure we support the network and how we do our training. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. That was the end of your slide, I think. Yeah, thank you. All right. That was another really interesting presentation. Thanks, Sean, and great examples again of the power of partnerships and working out where those emerging skills needs are going to be and how do we address them. So we do have some interesting questions in the Q&A box, and so I'm going to put probably everybody on the spot now with a few of those questions. So the first one is, can training be delivered to students in other states? So that's it's specifically outside ACT. So I think perhaps that was initially for Shane, but I think each of you had an opportunity there to probably talk about what you're doing across jurisdictions. So I'll start with you, Shane, and then we might hear from Greg and Sean too, just to see what's happening interstate for their centres.
Yeah, look, thanks, Teresa, and look, that's a great question. So, so at the COE EV, currently we are doing the train the trainer, so training other TAFEs around Australia nationally. Our focus is then training and upskilling industry. So when we're talking students, if we're talking from an industry point, yes, we currently do have some students that come in from OEMs from around the country to do the training within Canberra. But yeah, at this stage, our roadshow project is focused on going out and training the industry. So I hope that answers it. If you've got any more, please reach out. Back to you, Teresa.
Thanks, Shane. And yes, we've put your email in the chat, and of course they had the QR code there. Now, I think also there was a question, and I think this referred to yours, Greg. You were talking, so there's a question about the online hydrogen training, I believe. So Caroline's attempted to answer that. I think she's done a good job there. Is it the AFAC Hydrogen Safety Awareness Training Program? Did you want to just speak a little more about that free training?
Look, I think, I think the question was online training. So The answer is there's a lot of online training resources available. TAFE Queensland talked about some of theirs. Sean mentioned the hydrogen training there. New South Wales have got some. TAFE South Australia have got hydrogen, a fundamentals of hydrogen course as well. BKI, we've got some as well. There are a lot, but it depends whether you want accredited training or just a quick micro credential just to increase your knowledge on an area before maybe dipping into another accredited course. And of course, for some jurisdictions that comes with funding subsidies or not subsidized, depending on where you're located. So the tricky question to answer, because you really need to understand, is the question just about online training? Yes, there's a lot of online training available. Is it accredited? Some are, some aren't. And whether or not it's free will depend on the circumstances of the provider or where the student is located. I hope that answers that question. Sean, you might want to add a few more. You've got a lot of product in TAFE Queensland.
Yeah, and I think that's the piece. There's so many products around the country, but we've all sort of duplicated that work. And I think that's the efficiency that we're going to have to try and working together across the centres. The AFAC one obviously concentrates very heavily on the safety piece, where our product, and I think TAFE New South Wales and also South Australia, links into the safety and the initial startup and understanding of what hydrogen is, how to work around it. So we've just built that off into different networks, from the transport and logistics production and then into the automotive technician space. So, they're available through Course Gateway and online, but I think at the end of the day, we need to get to that point where we're getting an accredited outcome. So.
Thanks, Sean, and thanks, Greg and Shane, for your answers as well. Now, there is a question here that, in fact, as the question popped up, I just had written it down myself. So this one's for you, I think, Sean, but it might also, then everybody else might have something to add. You mentioned that you're not looking at critical shortages, so critical skill shortages, but emerging skill shortages. So what's to come? What are some of the challenges you've had, and how have you overcome them? Also, I think, how do you keep up to date with those emerging skill shortages, and how, like, what capacity has the TAFE Centre of Excellence and the partners that you talk about have the ability to kind of pivot into where the next emerging skills need is? So let's have a chat about that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important. When we say critical skill shortage, we know that electricians are a critical skill shortage, so we're not focusing in those areas. But through consultation with our industry partners and steering and subcommittee, it's come back quite clear that while we've got to develop a pathway, and I know Powering Skills Organisation is working on that Gateway and Pathways program, that'll bring people into the electrical apprenticeship. There's also been some clear data to say that the outcomes in those post-trade courses actually also need to be developed to bridge those small gaps in between solar and batteries, renewable clean energy, hydrogen and wind. And that's something else that PSO is also working on. For us, what we've done is we've done those desktop research and gone out to industry to identify what are the new technologies coming and what workers are currently working on them. So our department is supported through our research piece that we might need to start looking at skills mapping on projects that are coming out. So battery or solar installations, how many workers, how many, at what time, what skills do they need, where are the gaps, so that we can actually start looking at what those future needs are for future projects, not looking at what our current skills are. So it's still using a lot of data, but the data is from projects that are currently there. And I think in that electrical space, it's a little bit different across states and territories, which makes it even more difficult. We've got engineers that potentially could sign off, but they can't. The electrician can't sign off because they're not at that level. So it's about bridging those gaps. And for us, that's the part where the high level pathways or vocational degree will come in, because we'll have that trade skill qualified person leading into an engineering degree, and then they'll be able to do both facets of the job. So.
Thanks, Sean. Yes, that's a comprehensive answer. I wondered also if Greg or Shane might have something to add there in terms of these emerging skills needs. Like, how do you keep up with those? Maybe I can see Greg's ready to ready to chat.
Look, I might handball this one over to Ross, so Ross can actually give a practical task of what he faces as an OEM when he's delivering some of these hydrogen vehicles into different states, about what people can even work on these vehicles. So Ross, you might want to talk about some of your examples, which I think the audience will find fascinating.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. As Greg said, the issue we have across Australia is when we deliver vehicles into different states, there's different regulations. So there is currently no nationally recognised qualification to allow somebody to work on one of our hydrogen fuel cell buses or one of our hydrogen fuel cell trucks. So we have our own technicians who provide high-level assistance to any of our customers. Now, my guys are not mechanics, so even though they have full factory training and they've done all available courses, so both of my high-level technicians have done courses through TAFE Queensland on hydrogen awareness and capabilities, yet my guys are not mechanics, so they don't have the EV skill sets required to be able to do the hydrogen courses that are going to be offered throughout Australia. So we might go to Tasmania, and in Tasmania we're able to get an exemption for my guys, but there is certain conditions that need to be adhered to for my guys to be able to work on our own vehicles. And they're things such as they have to do the Queensland TAFE course, they have to be factory trained, they have to have certain certificates and anything available online that we can do to be able to get some sort of a skill set to show a qualification. In Western Australia, we had another different issue with what we can and cannot work on. We went into the mines with one of our EV cement mixers. All of our presentations on the day, which we refer to low voltage and high voltage, they all had to be changed so that in the mine, high voltage is over 1,000 volts. For us, with a vehicle, high voltage is 600 volts and low voltage is 24 volts. We had to change all of our presentations about our vehicle to low voltage and ultra low voltage instead of low voltage and high voltage. So within the states, there's different regulations. Within the industries, there's different regulations. And we have to be able to safely deliver content specifically on our product to the people that are going to be working on it, whilst understanding all of the local regulations and I guess quirks to what we are delivering.
Thanks, Ross. Really interesting to hear the industry perspective there and how that training is so important, and how all the different situations across the various jurisdictions can throw up all sorts of curved balls in your planning. So lots of things to juggle there. Thank you. Now I will keep going through these questions. So I think these ones are for you, Sean. There's two on the research grant. So when do they open and how can we find out more information?
So the research grants are all going to plan. We are waiting for an official announcement, being that it'll be the first Centre of Excellence to do a competitive applied research release. We've got the two centres and we're both going out together. So the Centre of Excellence for Healthcare and Support will also be doing round one release. We're looking at opening submissions on the 1st of July, and then applications will close on the 31st of July. And then we'll do announcements in September. We've got a selection advisory committee, subcommittee, steering committee, and an endorsement committee to go through in that time. But all of that information will be available once the release becomes official and it gets announced. And just because it is the first one, I think there's a bit of a priority to make sure that we've got, the announcement with the proper mechanisms around it. So we will make sure the information gets to TDA to get as much correspondence as possible. That's all I can say, sorry.
Thanks, Sean. So the message there is to obviously subscribe to the TDA newsletter and also to you can go onto the TAFE Queensland Centre of Excellence website, which we've put into the chat. Thank you. Okay, so now we have another question, which is about hydrogen storage and production. So there's hydrogen storage and production are still in development. Transportation poses challenges. In this context, what types of skill sets are expected?
I can talk about this actual skill set, Teresa, and then hand over for the hydrogen storage and production. But in terms of the skill set that's been developed, this is for the automotive technician when working on a hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicle. There was extensive consultation done with the technical advisory group and outside of that to determine at what point the technician would hand over to somebody else to work with those hydrogen parts. So the skill set in this forum is a skill set for an automotive technician working with a vehicle which is powered by a hydrogen fuel cell. So they're not going to be touching the hydrogen storage and production. So I hope that answers the skill set side of things. Happy to chat more about that one. And then I will hand over for hydrogen storage and production.
Caroline. So is that Sean? Are you the person to take that one, or?
Yeah, and I was just trying to find a link to the training. So for the hydrogen production and storage, there's 2 UEG skill sets which come out of the powering skills remit. So it's UEG SS 00013 and 14 and 15. So we've got 13 and 15 under delivery now. The 13 is the safety fundamentals skill set. So there's 3 units in there, and it goes about hydrogen safety, and then it also covers off into confined space. We're linking it off the back end of an electrical qualification and potentially hazardous areas. So they're actually available for training through TAFE Queensland, but we've also gone to TAFE North Regional TAFE over in WA, and we've done some PD delivery over there for their teachers. We've done some work in that partnership space with Swagelock, who are the hydrogen tubing suppliers. So sort of as Caroline was saying, it's not the gas part going into the fuel cell. The fuel cell was separated from that piece. We've gone and purchased some resources. So we've got some hydrogen trucks, we've got hydrogen tanks and fuel cells that we can use for training. So it's a big linkage into electrical and process instrumentation. But what we've then done is then link it back into that automotive sector as well. And obviously trying to help and support AUSMASA and Greg down in Kangan where we can. But those courses, I'll find the link now. And I've also just put in the micro credentials for the hydrogen safety awareness and the EV piece that's available.
Thanks, Sean. So before you start searching for that link, I think there's one more question for you. So it's in the chat actually, so you might not have seen it. Matthew's asked, as part of your Centre of Excellence, are you exploring how batteries and renewables mix will impact stability in future energy grids?
So this is potentially where the collaboration with other centres of excellence will come in. So WA Centre of Excellence has got a clean energy and they're a real broad. We've also got Tasmania with the Centre of Excellence for clean energy. So we've got 7 centres that link together across New South Wales and then net zero, plus with CIT, Tasmania, Western Australia. So there is a big collaborative piece that we need to be doing in this space. That's not in our remit because it's batteries and clean energy, but I think that's the part where we will then communicate who covers that part, how do we support it. There's a whole other realm of training that's potentially going to come out of that clean energy piece, and it may come out in different centres of excellence as we move on.
Thanks, Sean. Now, this is a question for everybody, and I think Sean's presentation did address it a little, but maybe this might be something where potentially Shane and Greg might be able to comment. So Elaine's asked, given the rapid and significant changes in present and future labour force and occupations, many of the new initiatives are linked with existing masculinised workforces and industries, along with the seemingly immovable, highly gender segregated Australian labour force. So Elaine wants to know what's being done or put in place to advance gender equality in line with the government mandates across the board. So this is probably really important. You know, we're talking about these emerging skills needs and clean energy. Who wants to have first go at that one? I can see Shane was nodding. Sean might need a break. Shane, let's go to Shane.
Yeah, look, that is really important. So one of our projects is women within industry, what that looks like, and you know how we can increase that to have that equity across the industry. It has been interesting though to see a lot of the engagement that's coming out that I've personally been doing with schools in those year 11 and 12s. There has been a lot more women within industry wanting to come across. So starting that conversation with them, letting them know what it is like within the EV sector. It's sort of, and what's really good, I know it's a bit of a touchy subject at the moment where there's several states that are looking at some licensing requirements, but that is also helping lift the bar within the industry. Well, I think another thing is we're talking that higher education piece on what that looks like. And that's getting a lot of, I guess, more traction within women within the industry. So we have some projects around that as well. We want to have some gender equity across the automotive sector, and that is definitely something we are working with. And there are several bodies out there at the moment that we have partnered with to help us with that.
Thanks, Shane. Excellent. Okay, Greg, did you want to have a shot at that one as well? We've got just a couple of minutes. I thought you might want to say something quickly before we end.
Interestingly enough, in our TAFE teachers pilot for the fuel cell truck, only sent nominations out yesterday, but I can confirm I have a female diesel fitting teacher who has been nominated by one of the organisations. So that's a good start. You know, if we've got teachers and the kids can see a female diesel fitting teacher, that goes a long way to seeing there's a possibility that I could also do that. So fantastic.
Great. Thanks, Greg. Excellent. Well, look, that has brought us almost to time. We have had some fabulous questions today, and we'll send, obviously you'll get a copy of the recording, but we'll also be able to send you the presentations, and you've got details of the various different centres and people that you've listened to today. So I want to say a really great thank you to Shane, Greg, Caroline, Ross and Sean for such an insightful and practical discussion today. It was fascinating. Hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Thank you to the audience for your participation and the excellent questions. That really was the ultimate for such a great presentation. We have another big event coming up, which will be powering inclusive TAFE teaching with universal design for learning. This one is supported by the Australian Disability Clearinghouse on Education and Training. You might know them as ADSET. So that's on the 18th of June from 2 to 3 p.m. And I hope that you can join me for that one. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye for now.